So I love to fly. I think I've always loved to fly. When I was a kid, it felt like magic to be up in the clouds. And it was special. My mom always put me in a blue blazer. And when I got on the plane, the flight attendant typically would give me a little plastic wing to put in the lapel of that blue blazer. And I'd get a deck of playing cards with the airline logo embossed on them. And it was always fun. And I still think that taking off is the start of an adventure, and landing is the start of something new. When I was 17, I took a flight to run away from a suicidal crisis. When I got back, my dad met me at the airport, and he took me to the hospital, and he told me it would be okay. He told me that he loved me. What he didn't tell me was that he also had anxiety and depression. What he didn't tell me was that when he was my age, he too was in the hospital. 3 years later, I was in college, and I got a phone call one morning from my mom, and she told me that my father had died. My father had taken his life. He was 49. That was a life-changing event. It was devastating for me and for my family, and it changed everything. But I got on with it. I graduated. I came to New York City. I found a job. I started a career that I liked, and I built a business. I built a life. In 2008, a business deal that I had worked on for a year fell through. And in its collapse, I lost all confidence. It was hard for me to imagine that I could keep moving after having lost this deal. It shattered my belief in myself, my fragile sense that I was an able and successful person. And that confidence ebbed out of me day by day, week by week, and year by year. For 4 years, I struggled to get back on my feet. But depression continued, slowly and surely, until it consumed every aspect of my life. But I fought. I fought hard, and I fought as hard as I could. I tried just about everything. I tried lots of medications. I tried meeting with many doctors. I tried electric shock therapy. I tried meditation. I met with specialists. I was trying to find anything that could ease my pain and ease my suffering. 4 years later, I really had lost all hope. I was in my kitchen. My partner had left for work. The sun came through the window. Its beams warmed my dog's fur as she slept a few feet away from me. And I was at my computer, and I had my finger over a button. I was certain. I was ready. I was resolute. And I pushed the button. I booked a one-way ticket to the southernmost part of South America, a town called Punto del Diablo, Devil's Point. It was a flight to the end of the world and to the end of my life. It was a rocky, desolate, coastal town. And upon landing, my intention was to make my way over those rocks and walk into the ocean. To one side, my phone buzzed and chirped. Texts from my mom and my therapist, and phone calls from my aunt and my partner. There was a chime. It was an email. And I picked the phone up, and I looked at the email. It was from my brother. I hadn't talked to him. I opened the email. It was 2 sentences. You must not leave us. You remember what you felt like when Dad made that choice to leave us. I was so confused, so conflicted. I was in so much agony, and I was so tired. And yet, I didn't want to hurt the people I loved the most and who loved me. And in that pause, in that moment, there was a remnant of my old self, the practical decision-making self. And I considered something that I had taken off the table, which was long-term hospitalization. I had taken it off the table because it would be a full, visible, complete, utter admission of my illness, of my failure, of my shame. To tell my business partners, my clients, my normal world that I was sick, that I needed help. It seemed impossible. But in that moment, my brother reached to me. He got to me in a way no one else had. And in the absence of hope, he gave me a reason to take a leap of faith. I went back to my computer and I booked another one-way flight, this one to Houston, Texas, for treatment, to the hospital, to the unknown. The flight landed. I woke up. I knew where I was, but I couldn't remember getting on the plane. No blue blazer, no little wings. I was skinny and pale. I had lost 30 pounds. I hadn't slept through the night in a year. And I was angry. I was on the wrong plane. It wasn't going to work. Wasn't going to make a difference. The outcome would be the same. But I got off the plane and I walked into that hospital. And for 8 weeks, I stayed. And it was hard, it was excruciating, and I wanted to leave, not once, not twice, but 3 times. I stayed, and when I walked out and flew back to New York and came home, I was still weak, I was still vulnerable, I was still unsure, but I had something new in my hand, in my heart, in my mind. I had just the tiniest kernel of hope. And I was able to take one step in front of the other and move forward, very slowly. And I had something else, which was clarity. To survive, I would need to make changes. I was in a relationship with someone I once loved, and didn't love anymore. I built a business that I was so proud of, but I no longer wanted. And I lived in a city that felt less and less like home. 5 years later, I buy my last one-way ticket. In taking off, there was the promise of adventure. And in landing in Los Angeles, the start of something new. An imperfect but hopeful life. Thanks.